I've said a few times now that this bus is freaking indestructible, and that's evidenced by the fact that the entire thing is put together not with screws but with rivets. And rivets are about 100 times harder to get out than screws are. The first thing you have to do is knock the pegs out of the center of the rivets. And you can do that with an air tool, but it's actually still pretty easy to do it by hand with a hammer and a punch. To get the ceiling panels and the wall panels down, we had to cut off the head of the rivet, and there's a few different ways you can do that. The first method that we tried, which we actually had the highest hopes for, was an air hammer with a chisel attachment.
Get around it, get behind it.
This probably would have been the best way to do it, except that we're working remotely here in our storage unit, and we brought generators with us, and even hooking two of them in tandem, we couldn't keep the air compressor from tripping the breaker every time it needed to refill.
Is the breaker flown?
And that got aggravating real quick. We did eventually figure out what our problem was. We were still using a 30 amp plug when we should have been using a 50 amp plug. So we ordered one, got it in, tested it, and it works great, so we'll have the air compressor for future parts of this project. Unfortunately, it didn't come in until after we were already done with the ceiling. The next method that we tried was to use a cutting wheel. It did work, however, we found that when we cut off the heads of the rivets, it tended to mangle the rivet just a little bit, just enough that you still couldn't really pull the ceiling panel down. You had to go back and recut it again, and it was taking forever. Also, if you're planning on reusing the same paneling once you've got the insulation changed out or you've got all the leaks fixed, you're not going to be able to do it using this method unless you got mad cutting skills. Now, the last method that we tried was to drill them out. That was definitely the cleanest way to do it. You just got to get a metal drill bit that's a little bit bigger than the post of the rivet itself, and a really good powerful drill will really help you. But it was very time consuming. It took the two of us working 3 or 4 hours at a time for a good 4 solid days to finally get all the ceiling panels out, and then another couple of days to get the wall panels out. Once it starts to spin like that, the reason we've got this little shim up here, or this little chisel, is you can poke this in here, which just kind of puts a little bit more tension on the rivet, and it'll keep it from spinning so you can keep drilling it. Ah, see? Popped right out. But as painstaking as it was, it did work really well, and it was definitely the cleanest way to do it, because once you got that head off of that rivet, it was really easy to pull down those panels, and they were in great condition. Ooh.